Sorry, that's pretty lame. Left-handed. Lame gavel. Yeah, lame gavel. Good evening. Today is Tuesday, March 5th, 6 o'clock. It is also FYI, National Multiple Personality. Just FYI. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? And after the pledge, will you continue standing? Thank you. Eli, will you direct us, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing for just a second. I'd like to stand in silence in the memory and honor of Mr. J. Chimino, who passed away February 24th. He was a good friend and mentor to all of us here at City Council and a great donor to the city. So just a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Item number 1 is roll call.
Savona.
Here.
Shu.
Here.
Thurman.
Here.
Trudell.
Here.
Ogletree. Here. Williamson.
Here.
Griego.
Here. Item number 2, approval of the agenda. Does anybody have any corrections or changes to the agenda? All right, we need a motion to approve the agenda as stated.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
call the vote, please.
Thurman.
Yes.
Ogletree. Yes. Shu.
Yes.
Trudell.
Yes.
Savona.
Yes.
Williamson.
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Item number 3A, Housing Now Downtown Revitalization Update. Mr. Yerman has prepared, and we also have Mr. Ruger, our city manager, and Mr. Ed Grego, who is the tour board president, will also participate. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we have Mr. Yerman here on Zoom to do a presentation for you, and he's going to update you on the 2 items on the agenda, Housing Now and then the downtown revitalization. So, Michael, hopefully you can hear us.
Yep, I can hear you guys now.
Okay.
And if there's a chance to share screen, that would be great. If not, I could probably not share the slides, but.
Give us 1 second, Michael, and I got you.
Are you gonna share screen or no? Okay.
There you go. You should have access now.
Okay, great. There it is. I apologize to the council that I'm not there in person tonight. You do not want what I have. I'm a little sick, so I appreciate you allowing me to do Zoom tonight. I wanted to give a quick update on where we are with Housing Now, and then talk about a possible strategy moving forward with the downtown redevelopment program that we saw so much success with through this program in a partnership with Trinidad Urban Renewal Authority, and some projects that have kind of recently bubbled up that we're looking at partnerships with. But at first, I want to give you a real quick brief update. We have committed all $2 million worth of funding from the Housing Now funds. It has resulted in 182 workforce housing units, which is incredible. That has also spurred $6.1 million in private investment across the 16 projects we've funded. There's 90 new housing units, and there's 92 revitalized housing units from blighted or vacant commercial structures in the downtown. Your $2 million is also leveraged about $10.4 million in potential grant funding and tax credits to the city from CHAFA and from the Department of Local Affairs. 7 downtown structures, 5 blighted homes that are being done by the Trinidad City Cooper program, and there are 5 projects under construction, and actually, as of today, we had just another project get to the final design stage because they were awarded Proposition 123 funding, which I'll get into here in just a sec. So completed projects, East Street School, Timberview Apartments just got their CO as of Friday, and they have already recorded their deed restriction on the property, and 920 and 926 Stonewall are both complete by the Trinidad State College program. These 3 have active building permits, so 234 North Commercial is upstairs, they're making great progress. 847 Arizona, which is 2 units, has a building permit and has started work. And Eagles Hall, I believe, has just recently been issued their building permit. Projects completing building permit. So 101 Pine Street at 612 Arizona. Both are in the process of getting permit sets complete. And then I just received news today that City View Heights, which is the 20 new residential units, single family for purchase for workforce development. The Elevation Land Trust, as of today, was executing a purchase contract with the builder to begin construction on that. And I do believe they've been at least initially told that they'll be receiving some Proposition 123 funds, which is why they're moving forward on the sales contract to begin construction. City View Heights, I believe, will start construction if everything falls in place with the state starting in June. 3 that are still awaiting grant funding. Holy Trinity, we have submitted for 4.1 million. From a strong communities grant from DOLA. The MARC has submitted their Light Tech funding application and is awaiting their formal review by CHAFA. If they're awarded, that project will also begin this summer. And the Depot Lofts is currently submitting for review, potentially for Proposition 123 funds as well. The last 3 on the 16 are the 3 properties that are held that were funded by the Trinidad State College program. 503 State Street, 507 State Street, and 1024 First Street. These projects are next in the hopper for the Trinidad State College to continue their Cooper program. So with that, what we wanted to talk with the council about tonight and potentially receive direction for is whether or not there's an interest in continuing the downtown revitalization program. As of today, the 4% allocation of marijuana funds to the economic development incentive only brings in $32,000 a year. Obviously, compared to what we just spent on the $2 million, that's considerably less. TORA also has limited funding, but they are interested in the potential of creating a program and matching. So we would be looking at ways that TORA could be involved. When we did meet with the TORA executive director, there is a need for the city staff to provide some administrative assistance if we move forward with a program and create some policies, which I believe we would be committed to attending and helping draft a policy if the council would like to review that. But what we have noticed in our initial discussions on a particular project that's come up is that the TORA board is actually well positioned to provide the council recommendations on these projects after they look at performance, performance and other presentations from these applicants. So the idea would be that TORA would be the first stop for an applicant moving forward. They would vet the project and then make a formal recommendation to the city council on a funding award. If looking at this, the idea that we initially talked about is how do we extend the program for 2 years? So again, the idea being is let's do a test pilot and see how this potentially works over the next 2 years. And then I don't think it will be possible, just given the reduction in funding, that we'll be able to do the $200,000 awards that we saw, but potentially looking at a smaller award that is more impactful with the recommendation from the TOR board after they've reviewed the performance. So with that, Mr. Ruder, I would turn it over to you on the next steps in looking for direction from the council. But I believe we're hoping for some input on whether this continues to be the downtown revitalization continues to be a priority, and whether this is something that the council would entertain a recommendation from TORA and the partnership.
Thank you, Michael, and Mayor Council. Really, Michael summed it up very well, but I just want to thank the council and past members of the council again for the bold initiative that you guys have done. There's a lot of discussion at the state legislature last year, this year as well, about creating affordable housing for Colorado, which is to the fore on many cities' agendas, but I think Trinidad has done such a spectacular job. For any community to create 94, whatever Michael had said at this point, housing units in the short time that we have is a really big deal. And I'd like to see us be a model for what can be accomplished in Colorado to provide this type of housing. And then on the downtown revitalization efforts, it goes hand in hand with our planning. We want Main Street to be the best in Colorado, and this effort really helps with that. So at this point, I'll really just yield to you all for any questions, but thank you, Michael, for your presentation and all your hard work. I think this is something that we really should be celebrating at this point.
Erin, do you have any questions?
What would be different between the way we've been administering the housing incentive program and this?
As far as what the state's proposing?
As far as what TORA and the city
Sure,
are
yeah,
proposing?
go ahead, Michael. I'll let you answer that one.
Well, I think the biggest difference is that we don't have the $2 million pot of funding. And so with there only being $32,000 yearly into the fund, any future program would need to be taking a little bit more a little more scrutiny to project proposals that come before the council. And I think that that TORA could potentially be a great place for applicants to start, and that the program moving forward wouldn't include the new housing initiative, $15,000 for the new housing initiative. They are still going to be eligible for the tap fee deferral program, but this is really looking at the different options available through TORA and the city of really sharpening the pencil and finding out how much does a project actually need to make that project viable for the revitalization of that building in downtown. And I think there's some administrative aspects that their board, rightfully so, would be leaning on the city staff to assist with trying to do some of the pro formas, but also looking with a little bit more of a microscope of how much does that potential project actually need in funding to get it to break ground and be successful.
So would the focus be then more on commercial projects rather than residential, and more on downtown locations on the projects?
Yeah, so I think of course, this is always up to the discretion of the board and the board and the council. But what we have initially talked about, because the program originally also opened it up to anything that was on the blighted property list by the city, this would really essentially put a lens on just projects that are in the downtown core. And yes, I don't think they have to have a housing component, but a lot of the projects that we continue to see have those vacant upstairs that could be turned into housing.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I really have a question, Michael, but thank you for your continue to focus on the beautification of the downtown revitalization. It's very imperative, so thank you for that.
Absolutely.
You know, I really don't just want to thank you, Michael. You answered my question with Aaron there about commercial and that. Appreciate the work you're doing, and I won't pick on you today because you got a cold or
Yeah, just thank you for everything you've done. Downtown's looking great, residential's, we really need more people like you to come in and just develop and bring these ideas that are just amazing for our community. And a matter of fact, I got an email today that it was submitted, it was introduced today at the House. Senate Bill 24-174 was submitted, so hopefully it's gonna go through and actually help us to be able to create all these initiatives to come down so we can continue to build. Thank you for all the work that you do. We appreciate you, sir.
Appreciate you coming to Trinidad, Mike.
So I was, I did have a couple of questions. In comparison to where we have started, and if you have sent this, I don't remember reading it, so maybe it's information that you have at hand, but have we been presented with information that would show the percentage of the housing gap, how much it's closed since we've started? Do we have that sort of information?
Closed, you mean completed?
Well, like, we started out with certain gaps in workforce housing, right? And we had a model that we looked at of what would be the target. Have we seen information that shows how close we've come to that desired target? Do you have that information?
So there's two different studies that have recently come out. So give me one moment, let me pull up. So obviously the city conducted a housing needs assessment.
Yeah.
And if you give me just 1 second, let me find it and I can tell you. So there, and then the secondary, so there's really two important kind of housing goals that have been established. One was the housing needs assessment. And what I would say about housing needs assessments are that the number of units that typically are cited in the need for in a housing needs assessment is pretty. I wouldn't call it extreme. Is probably not the right word to use, but it's large. They look at the whole spectrum of housing need for low income, middle income, and high income housing in those studies.
Right.
But the other one that I would actually point to is the 3-year goal that, and I think is more germane to what you're asking because it's directly, again, our program was focused on affordable housing.
Yeah.
So rentals at 80% AMI or home ownership at 120% AMI or less. And that is 100% in line with the Proposition 123. And so the total units that have been created out of this program are 184. And I apologize for 1 second. Let me actually find the state number for you. I want to say it was 170, but I'm going to misspeak and then give you the wrong number.
And while Michael looks that up, I just want to make one quick comment. So some of the new legislation we're seeing has specific targets that would happen soon if passed that we would have to oblige by. And the good news for Trinidad is I think we've already done it and exceeded what the state legislation says. So I dare say we will be the one community in Colorado that's poised to not have to do a lot of work after this new legislation comes
So
to
we've
fruition.
grandfathered in with this housing now.
Exactly. But Michael's correct. There are other variants of housing, middle housing, and just standalone residential single family that we do have some work to do on. And that, of course, is in partnership with the development community. So.
Well, I apologize. I'm trying to find.
Michael, that's okay. I mean, if it's information that you want to prepare and send, that'd be great too. Overall, I still remember back to the starting of this, and I mean, we have come a long way. So
Yes.
thank you for all the effort that you put in, and I think if we can further leverage opportunity through Tura, I would be in favor of that. And then I did have a question, Michael, and you may not have the answer. Someone here may. The Eagle Hall with the damage due to that accident. How much has that affected the building? How much has it affected the project? And is it going to still be restored in the historical nature with the accident damage?
And Mayor Council, if I may speak on that
Yes.
question, I did speak with Paul Glenn today. It doesn't have any impact on the goals of the project. And right now, they're working with Trinidad Construction Group to remediate the damage that was caused by the vehicular accident. But that's more or less just kind of a thorn in the side of the project, for lack of a better term. But they'll work through that. But the project goals are still the same, and they fully anticipate on meeting those goals.
Great.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have no further questions.
I talked to Mr. Glenn right after that happened, and he said it was a bad accident, but we were lucky because that car didn't hit the two sandstone pillars on the side. That would have been very disastrous, but he thought it's bad, but it's not as bad as it should be. Mr. Grego, would you like to come and speak?
Why Ed is coming up, I just want to highlight two things. So first thing is I'm very proud for they're starting conversations about how they can establish informal policies on the type of projects they'd like to fund. And I think that ties in exactly with what we're talking about tonight. And I guess that's it. Yeah, and I'll let you speak from there.
We just want to hear if you're willing, ready, and able. If we put you guys on the spot.
Madam Mayor, members of council, Ed Grego, and I do have in the audience tonight, I have three commissioners from Urban Renewal, Jeff Heck, Pat Howlett, and Jerry Begley. And I believe Commissioner Luis Lopez is attending by Zoom. And yeah, we've had some preliminary, if you want to call it that, preliminary discussions. And I've been the representative of the tour of that, and I think Commissioner Lopez did fill in at one of them as well. And we have a principle in place of where we want to go with this, and wherever this goes, I also have to take this to the tour board because some of this is pretty much brand new. I invited them here tonight so that they could get, I don't have to go back and re-explain or lose any components of this in the process. But I think we'd be happy to be a part of it. It's something that the housing now or whatever. But when it comes to the downtown revitalization, the actual intent of Tora when it was revitalized in 2015, and based on the condition survey that was done by Ricker Cunningham in the 2 years prior to that, was to remediate and eliminate blighting conditions in the core commercial district of Trinidad. So we have a plan in place. It was adopted in December 2015. So there's a plan in place. Although the plan, the Tura plan area is the entire corporate limits of the city of Trinidad. Quite large and somewhat unusual when you count the story to other people with urban renewals in their towns. Corporate limits is quite a large area. And so most of them have usually, and at some point in time in the future, if things have to happen, we may have to redo the plans to actually go to concentrated areas, to have individual projects that would sustain going forward. One of the things that Tora's main source of revenue is tax increment finance. And that has diminished over the years. It never got to a real big high, but it has seen its way down. I'm not sure what's going to happen in 2024 with the things that happened in late 2023 with the property tax structuring. And so we don't know where that's going to be. We do have a treasury, which is over the past 2 years, it's at its greatest level. And a lot of that is attributable to opportunities given to us by the city of Trinidad, one with marijuana funds, I think in 2017, and then we were deeded a couple of properties which we were able to sell, and so that's boosted our treasury to have money in it right now. So I think project funds for, as it sits now for 2024, exceeds $300,000 seems like a lot of money, but that's not a lot of money in the big picture. So again, commissioners from Tura are here this evening. We'll take this to further discussion at our meeting. We'll begin that process next week. We meet next Thursday, our weekly meeting. So, I mean, our monthly meeting. So that'll be discussed further and see where we want to go with it. And then again, one of the components, and Michael has brought that in the memo he sent to council. I guess I want to reiterate it and I want to stress it, is that we're going to need assistance from the city. We will need city staff assistance, however it's going to be and however we determine that needs to be. Because it's going to be a lot. And I can, probably a lot more than I can do with the time I have available. So, these are, I think this is the blueprint, if you want to call it, for how we want to go forward. But I think it's something that Tura will be interested in, and I think we'll be more than happy to be able to create something that will be equally beneficial for the city council, for Tura, and the city of Trinidad as a whole.
So, Mr. Grego, I never get a chance to talk to you. So you're such a busy guy. So you're saying that not only will Tura vet these projects, that there might be some money available through Tura funds that can fund some of these projects?
Fund some part of the project.
Okay.
It all depends. It depends on the magnitude of the project, and where it would be. And then on the funding, we're going to do it with loans, grants, or whatever. We have to figure the mechanism of where that's going to go. There's other possibilities that are available, grants that can be had beyond tourism money through other agencies in the state. DOLA money, those are where everybody goes tapping. So DOLA monies are going to be sort of prospects as well. The bond market, which is also out there, but at this point not very favorable. Under current conditions, I don't think, and in fact I just had a conversation with Paul Benedetti, who is our legal counsel, and he said, there's projects that are not getting off the ground that have been planned in the not too recent past because the bond market at its current rates and volatility isn't, some projects just don't get to the front runner at this particular time. So those are the things that are out there, but again, for the benefit of the city of Trinidad and who Trinidad Tour is all about, we take this blueprint and try to put it together for something going on into the future.
I had a question, Mr. Rio.
Yes.
As you currently envision, I know that you're just sitting down and trying to figure out how this would work, but would it be the city or Tura who ultimately is approving a project?
Yes.
I guess it's going to be both because, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I would come in here. I think what we would envision is that Tura would be the first stop for an applicant, but I think where Tura and the city's efforts need to come together is in what we were able to accomplish with Housing Now, which is the structure of a funding agreement. I think the city being at the table and being potentially part of the funding solution for a project and ultimately having the teeth in the funding agreement like we did with the Housing Now agreements is what Tura really needs as a backstop from the city, as well as the administration to prepare those agreements and ready them for council consideration and Tura's consideration. But I would see these as kind of a three-party agreement between Tura, the city, and a future applicant. And I would also stress that the idea here is, originally in the downtown program we offered up to $200,000. That's not going to be realistic in any capacity looking forward at future budgets. But I do think that if there's a project that goes through Tura and comes in front of the council as a recommendation, that the city council can consider an award on a case-by-case basis based on the impact and based on some recommendations from the Tura board. What I hope we get to in the next couple of months here is that the Tura board brings back a proposal of how that structure would work, and so the council understands the work that has gone into a recommendation on a funding recommendation from Tura, so that the project's been vetted and that everyone is in agreement that this is a high priority for the downtown, and B, has the ability to be successful and implemented.
Thank you.
Anybody have questions?
Yeah, I got a question. Do we have a cheat sheet, or do we know what kind of funding projects that Tour has or wants to fund? Do we have like a pre-knowledge of what type of projects they want to give money to?
At this particular point, not. I want to pick up, I want to add a little bit to that. The vetting process, should happen, it's involved in the term, is a vetting process when there's an applicant coming to seek, we'll call it a developer if you want to call it that. The vetting process is going to make a determination that there always really is going to have to be, should be past experience, their financial abilities to be a part of that project. It's not just a matter of coming in and seeking the funds.
Right.
There's going to have to be, there's going to have to be some skin in the game, as they call it, for anybody seeking to do it. I mean, that's the normal process under urban renewal, is the location of a qualified developer. And so it's, how to put it gently is you can't fund all dreams. Okay, it's a matter of, they're there, but the developer, the property owner, whatever it's going to be, there should be some experience, or so in there, for the vetting process, some experience, and there's going to have to be some financial participation by the applicant as well, applicant, developer, whatever you want to call them. So, there are things that'll have to be done that would be normal for urban renewal to do anyway.
And Mayor, Council, thank you, Ed. And as far as Tour is concerned and the council is concerned, I think we always need to be mindful that there needs to be an equal or greater benefit to the community for anything that we fund through Tour funds. And going back to, I think Tour is going to work really hard to establish some policies and some ideas on here's the specific types of projects that we're going to deem eligible. And there has to be some wiggle room in that, but I think it's a good idea for them to have, a standard prescription for what types of projects we're looking at.
Mr. Williams.
Mr. Baker, I didn't have so much of a question, but I did just want to express my, I'm sure, appreciation for all the work that you guys do. I speak to Luis a lot, so I have a pulse on some of the stuff you guys do. But, I think a lot of time it's a very thankless job, but there's a lot that you do for our community, and thank you so much to you and your board.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Okay.
And then Mayor, Council, just last thing, based on tonight's conversation, we will get you all a report of our efforts to date and how that matches up with our housing needs assessment.
Mr. Yerman, and I just want to make a comment. So that one project with the Housing Now program it's complete to the point where it's beautiful. It's the Timberview Apartments. So I urge everybody to go through. It's Oak and 7th Street. It is a top-notch building. It's beautiful. And, that's a great accomplishment for us all.
And I will just, on that project is a great example of where we were able to leverage additional funding from the state, and that project was made possible without the funding from the city. That project was going to get built in Alamosa, not in Trinidad.
Wow.
And that was the game changer that changed that. So I would echo those comments, and I think it's a testament to how the funds that the city put forward really brought that developer and Chapa to the table when they had basically walked away.
It looks way better in Trinidad. It looks way better in Trinidad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All righty. Thank you, Michael, Mr. Yerman. I hope you start feeling better. Item number 4, petition.
Do we need a motion? Because at the end of the staff report, Mr. Yerman had asked us.
Mayor, Council, this is not an action item,
Okay.
but yeah,
Okay.
but we'll bring it forward at a future meeting if there's motions required.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
Not a problem. Item number 4, petitions or communications, oral or written. Please be mindful if you're coming up to speak, you have 5 minutes. Don't be alarmed, Mr. Downs is our timekeeper, and he will remind you that you have a minute left. Please be respectful of council and staff and the audience. First speaker is Tom Berger, GoCo grant support.
Thank you for having me here. Madam Mayor, members of the council. As a chairman of the PWP, Purgatory Watershed Partnership, I am in full support of this GoCo grant proposal for the PWP, the City of Trinidad, and all of the stakeholders that are in it. I think it will be a great asset to the river, to the community, and it will help everybody concerned. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Berger. Rich Alford is talking about new art.
Hello, this will be brief and positive. My name is Rich Alford, and I'm here as a member of the Arts and Cultural Affairs Advisory Commission. And we're engaged in a project called the Legacy Project, which is to purchase art by important Trinidad artists who are now gone, dead. And we've done that a couple of times, but now we got 2 recent acquisitions just today for free. So it's not costing the city anything. Now, it's a little bit dark in here, but we have a painting by Bill Johnson over here, and then another painting by Bill Johnson. Both have been donated to the city by Jesse Manzanares, if you know him. And he did work for Bill Johnson. Bill Johnson was an artist at Trinidad Junior College for many years. He was a colleague of A.R. Mitchell and competitor, and I guess a kind of a curmudgeon, but people loved him as an art teacher. And so those 2 paintings are now city property, and again from Jesse Manzanares. And so I wanted to make sure he got thanked. But a real quick announcement, in another capacity, I'm a member of this group called the Art Council, and we are doing our 3rd annual youth art show. Everybody age 5 to 18 can enter this for free. And March 29th and 30th is when we have to submit to art. All the schools know about it. And April 5th is the show. And we are committed to doing this show every year, as long as I'm alive anyway. And who knows how long that'll be. And then I want to also tell you, June 29th, the Saturday, is our 6th annual Make Art Fair. Unique event that occurs only here, in which we bring the materials and expertise to allow people to do almost 10 different kinds of art all day for free at the Trinidad History Museum. So June 29th and then April 5th for the Youth Art Show. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rich.
Mr. Berger, would you please make sure that Judge Manzanares gets a thank you from us?
Absolutely, Mayor.
Maybe a letter and have all the council sign it, or
Absolutely.
whoever you feel is appropriate to sign a thank you. Thank you. Item 5, consent agenda approval. Item 5A, approval of the regular minutes of February 22nd, 2024. Item B, to ratify the fire union contract. 5C, approval of 3 temporary modification permits for Mont Carmel Wellness and Community Center at 911 Robinson Avenue on 9/21/2024, and I see Ms. Perry here. Item D, approval of special event permit application, Malt Stimulus Spirituous, filed by Mont Carmel Wellness and Community Center at 225 North Commercial Street, which is Sister Blandina Garden, for the dates of June 15th, July 12th, August 17th, and September 7th of 2024. We are in receipt of a letter dated February 4th from the Mont Carmel Wellness and Community Center and Sister Blandina that they will approve of the gardens being used for that purpose. Item 5E, reappointment of Molly Fletcher to the E911 board. Is Melly here? Item 5F, approval of bills in the total of $1,114,435.20. It goes from the time period of February 17th to March 1st. Approval of payroll February 17th through March 1st in the amount of $468,721.91. Okay,
I'm sorry, I need to make a correction to your agenda. The item where it references 3 temporary permits for the September date for Mount Carmel, it should just say 1 temporary modification of premises application.
I'm sorry, you should have stopped me sooner.
No, that's okay. When I sent out the original agenda before I amended it, it said the correct thing. And I don't know what happened in between.
Thank you, Audra. So just to verify, item 5C in the consent agenda is approval of 1 temporary modification permit for Mount Carmel Wellness and Community Center at 911 Robinson Avenue on September 21st, 2024. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Call the vote, please.
Williamson,
Yes.
DeBono,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Ogletree.
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Item 6, public hearings, we have none. Item 7, unfinished business, we have none. Item 8, miscellaneous business. Item 8A is a resolution supporting an application to the Great Outdoors Colorado Stewardship Impact Grant Program to obtain funding for the purpose of furthering stewardship and improvements to the conditions of the Purgatory River watershed, including the Boulevard Addition, Wormhole Loop Trail System, and the River Walk in the city of Trinidad. Who's going to present that?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'll go ahead and introduce it, and then Karen Wolf is here to present details. I just wanted to mention this is a partnership that the city is going forward on with the PWP, and ultimately, at the end of the day, we'll end up with about $40,000 of money to help with our mitigation efforts for non-native species and cleaning up the Riverwalk. So, very good deal for the city. We've reviewed the application. It'll be a PWP application. However, the city will have an interest in it. I spoke with GOCO today. They're actually potentially willing to even do a separate agreement for our portion of the funding so we can keep the 2 projects separate. But just wanted to mention that. I think this is a good thing for the city. This is just the resolution in support of it, and then we'll have future opportunities to talk about it as we get to the grant award, should we be selected. And with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Wolf to present on the specifics of the project.
Good evening. Hi, Karen.
I'll introduce it before questions. I assume you want me to.
Yes, please.
Okay, so in 2019, the Purgatory Watershed Partnership and I started the first stewardship grant. We completed that in December, so this is the second round. The application is due this week. Awards will go out in June. So like the city manager said, if we get this grant, the city would be putting forth a match of $61,000, and that's in your communication. We would get $40,000 from GOCO. So basically, we would be doing $100,000 worth of work for $61,000. That work would be run by me, like it has been for the last 5 years. It's with contractor work. We will also be doing work with Mile High Youth Corps, or a youth corps that we set up here. So the difference with this grant and the last one is trying to set up a youth corps here in Trinidad for the region. Right now we bring youth, well, young adults, down from Colorado Springs, so we lose work time because of that. So this is also an opportunity to start an office like that with their support, with youth corps support, which is funded by the feds in part through VISTA, if you've heard of Volunteers in Service to America. And that would give youth a chance to, young adults, sorry, a chance to enter the workforce with skills and then also receive status for applying for federal jobs. So that's one aspect of this. But again, the money that the city would put forth, the money that the funds we would get from GOCO would be similar to what we're doing now on the river. so with a contractor.
And Mayor Council, I just want to, sorry to interrupt you, Karen. I just want to make it clear that $61,000 is our match. So that's money that we would already propose to be budgeted for. In fact, it'll be more than that in 2025. So it's not an additional $61,000. It's money that we already are planning to spend to do river mitigation. So I just want to make that clear for you all in the public.
So, thank you for reminding me that. So, for example, in 2023, we had 200,000 towards Riverwalk improvements, and we used that. This year, you approved that again, another 200,000 for Riverwalk improvements. Actually, 2 years ago, well, 3 now, we had 200,000 that came and went. I didn't know about it. So you've been doing this consistently to support work. And in the past, some work was done for lighting on the Riverwalk. And then also part of the river visioning plan is dealing with invasive species, which I've been involved in off and on for, well, 10 years since the GoCo grant that I was part of, also to buy the boulevard.
So Mayor and Council, in theory, for no additional expense to the city, we'll get $40,000 to help with our efforts.
So it says in there here, explain this to me, 61,000 and some of it's in kind, correct?
So,
No,
No,
so I'm the in-kind.
okay,
Yeah,
you're very kind.
I tried. So 61,000 is a cash match.
Okay,
40,000 of the 282,000. 40,000 of that 282 would come directly to the city. The
okay,
rest would go to the Purgatory Watershed Partnership. The previous grant, the city was the applicant. Now GoCo is allowing 501c3s to apply. So this way, it's on the shoulders of the Purgatory Watershed Partnership, and who has proven its competency to run, programs and promote stewardship throughout the watershed, not just in Trinidad. So this project actually is a little broader than just in Trinidad and in the upper watershed, where they did a lot of fuels mitigation. And we received more funds to do more work with the youth corps up there, beyond the last $286,000 grant that we received.
So to paraphrase, we get a benefit out of this, and Cheryl Navarrette's not going to quit because she has to administer another drink.
But she didn't quit because of my grants, because I administer my grants.
That's true. Karen's not going to have to.
So I think Cheryl could attest that, I don't add work for her, right, Cheryl? Right? Not too much anymore.
okay. Mr. Williamson, you have any questions?
The Purgatory Watershed Partnership portion of the funds, how specific can you be about the work that will be occurring with that? I'm mostly curious.
That's a very good question. I didn't give you the grant budget that the watershed wrote to, have you end up in the weeds. But that is an excellent question. So part of stewardship is getting people involved in on-the-ground work as volunteers. So, for example, one of the things that the watershed started, that Julie Knudsen started, were river cleanups. She also does education programs. She brings in youth, adults. Some of our partners include the Extension Service. There's a small acreage workshop coming up here soon. So there's activities also for working on trails. Now that we have the Trinidad Trails Alliance, they're another partner. So money from the budget goes to pay the watershed staff. This time around, some money, and it doesn't go through the city at all, to pay the Trinidad Trails Alliance, to support the Trinidad Youth Club, to pay for supplies, not just staff time. And this time around, there's also Huerfano County involved, and a gentleman who worked with Youth Corps there. So there's money, a little bit to pay him for some of his time. And then there's funds for on-the-ground work, and then a big chunk is to pay the youth corps as well.
I have two more questions, if I can.
Go for it.
And I mean, I'm not looking for a specific and detailed answer on this, I'm just generally speaking. What's improvements, what type of improvements may the wormhole trail system see with this much money? I mean, that's not a lot of money for trail improvement, so, I mean, how much improvement will we see there?
A percentage of
Well, I mean, like, what physically might change up there?
Well, there's still a lot of trail maintenance to do. Some of the trail was built, but a lot of it's more, it just needs maintenance help that will build it up and make it more sturdy, I guess you
Okay.
could say. We have signage. Rather than just going out and cutting a little trail, it needs more substance. And then bringing in people who know how to build trails to guide the volunteers.
Okay.
Which they've already been doing.
Right.
Now they would get a little extra support from the PWP.
Okay, and the last question, and this is, I would say this is probably speculative on your part. Is this in any way, will it conflict with our river visioning?
I don't have to speculate on that.
No?
No, it's not a conflict.
Okay, great.
It's actually right along.
So
with it.
it's conducive to that?
Yes, it's more of what I'm already doing.
Okay.
And I can say I because I'm running the program and the work down there.
That's all the questions I have.
Okay.
And Mayor Council, if I may kind of add something to that. We've been talking with the PWP, but talking internally mostly. One of the things we are going to bring forward to you all in the near future is an ordinance change that would establish a permitting process for anything that happens in the river, whether it be something recreational, such as a commercial tubing outfitter, that type of thing, or any work that's gonna happen in the river. So we wanna make sure that we have a heads up for anything that's gonna happen that is going to alter or be considered construction, that type of thing. This grant is specific for education and then mitigation as far as the river is concerned. So no capital projects or anything like that are contemplated. But we really do want to start owning the river ourselves and administering it and make sure that we're aware of everything that's going to be happening in the river going forward. So I just wanted to point that out to the council as well.
Thank you.
So question of permit process beyond like Army Corps?
Yeah, it'd be a city
404.
permit process where they would come to the city with an application. Mr. Chatterley is working hard right now to work with a right-of-way acquisition person or a land acquisition person. We want to define the city's ownership for a substantial part of the river, and we'll be moving forward with that. Mr. and Mr. Unknown are our favorite landowner here in Trinidad. So we're trying to clarify all of that, and we believe that the city is under or the river is under the city's jurisdiction already, but we just want to make sure that's formal with the courts and the assessor's office as well.
Thank you, Mr.
That kind of was my question. I was trying to wonder, is the watershed project, once they step away, it's on us, right? Is that what's going on? Or
They'll be working in partnership with us as part of our efforts to.
So they're here for the long haul.
They are, and their mission is really to support the irrigators and the water distribution from the watershed. But part of their mission is outreach and education, and then it's part of their bylaws as well to help us mitigate non-native species and that type of thing. So they're operating under the scope of what their nonprofit says they should be doing.
Gotcha.
And it's a continuation
All right.
of what we've been doing for 5 years.
So part of this money, you were saying that will help to bring the youth court office down here?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because that would be a really, really great thing, because that is a wonderful program. I've seen it work other places. I think that would be an amazing addition down here, to be able to bring that office and get some people.
And Council, we have been working with them over the past several years as well, just to let you know. So
Awesome.
it's a good partnership.
Thank you so much.
Mr. Sheehan.
No, I don't have any questions, just thank you for all the work you're doing, it's looking great down there.
Yes,
Keep it up.
thank you.
Thank you. I just put out a press release about the boulevard, it's on the website.
Yeah.
So it's might behoove you to look at it because people complain, go, what's going on? And my name's on there, it's okay. Send them.
Make sure Wolf is in capital.
Yeah.
Not Grego. Big bad Wolf. Eli, do you have any questions?
Well, I don't have a question, but Karen, thank you for everything you do. And there was a few people this week that I met downtown that wanted to forward their appreciation and give you accolades and kudos for everything you've done. It looks fantastic. And looking forward to the interviews.
Compliments than art, flowers.
I know.
No questions, thank you so much.
I have no questions. Thank you, Karen. Need a motion to approve the resolution in support of an application to GOCO.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Have a vote, please.
Ogletree? Yes. Thurman?
Yes.
Sedona?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Trahell? Williamson?
Yes.
Gray?
Yes. Item 8B, consideration of bid results for power plant roof project number 01-2024 and the award of the bid to the apparent low bidder, Better Line Roofing, in the amount of $157,243. Hi.
Hi. So when I got hired on here, they told me development services is gonna have to take a larger role into maintaining our city-owned buildings, and they hit me with that right away. So I talked to this with the power plant roof in specific. So the power plant roof, it's been on the list for quite some time. It was a top priority for the city staff. And we did some research, or what the research we had, it said last time we worked on it was 1997. At that time, they layered a new membrane, but we didn't have any documentation that they actually did any deck repair, so that kind of worried us as well. The warranty on that, when 1997 was 10 years, the lifespan was 15 to 20 years, so we're a little past due, yes. So we requested formal bids. We're gonna remove the existing polyiso underlay, the gravel and the membrane that are currently on the roof, replace the underlayment, replace the membrane, and then they'll do flashing around the perforations and repair the deck as needed when they get that deck exposed. We don't know, there's gonna be some issues, but it's kind of unknown until you actually get everything up off the roof. So that's part of the bid. We advertised February 9th, had a pre-bid meeting February 16th, and had a formal bid opening February 29th. We received 3 bids. And the low bidder was Better Line Roofing, $107,243. The other 3 bids were from local to Trinidad. This company, I believe, is out of North Denver. The funds are coming from insurance, that's only about $24,000. The rest has come from the Capital Improvement Projects Fund. And I'd just like to say that power plant's a huge asset we have as a city to have a backup for our power. That's a luxury that most cities don't really have. So putting a little money into that building, keep that running is always good to have that luxury. So.
Question?
I'm glad they make that a priority.
Eli, have a question?
Nick, how's the resume of the company that had that one with
They primarily focus on commercial, and they're kind of a younger company, but they seem on par with their other bids. We had an engineered number for about 150,000. It came out 157, so we were pretty pleased with that. And this company, at least they drove down here, they handed their bid to us, they stayed for the bid opening, they're very interested. They're attentive, we call, they answer right away. It seems like a really good company. But like I said, they haven't worked down in Trinidad, but they do mostly commercial. So.
Yeah, no questions.
No, you actually answered my question that I had, so.
What is the square footage? The roof is 12,880 square feet.
Now, how much is that per square foot?
I think, so, the membrane and the replacement, this is off the top of my head, he was
About 13 square feet.
yeah, that's, it was about that, but it was, 13. Oh, so because the way the project was broken up, we had that under deck that we kind of just assumed was a percentage. I think we assumed like 5% would need that, so that was a different thing. I think the membrane was like 350, and then the polyiso was about 350 as well. So it was about 7 before that.
Mayor, Council, it comes out to about a little over $12 a square foot, but keep in mind, we believe this is the original roof that was installed on the building. So, we've saved a lot of money over the years by being fortunate enough to have a roof that's lasted so long.
Aaron, do you have any questions?
If the decking under the roof exceeds, did you say 5%?
Yeah, we did, I forgot what we threw out there, 30, like 5%, yeah.
Is that in the contract as to what that'll cost per square foot? Or
So,
how is that
in the bid schedule, they did it by that square footage. So if there's any changes, if they get under there and say, oh, it's actually, I think it's 35 square feet was in the bid schedule. If it's actually 100 square feet, we would at least be able to tell by their cost how much up we have to go, or maybe it's even less, which we're hopeful. We just did a percentage just to be sure, yeah.
But that is recorded in the contract as to what the conditions would be.
Yeah.
And you guys find that acceptable?
Yes.
And then, this was more a question of interest more than anything else. Is that reason, the unknown conditions, is that the reason for the apparent low bid?
Apparent low bid?
Well,
I guess so, yeah. It is a little bid. The other two bids actually not really higher, but we had an addendum to this bid schedule, and the addendum increased that square footage. It went from 12,500 up to 1288 or 12,880, and they were still a little better on that. So yeah, the other two didn't acknowledge the addendum. So
what's the warranty on the work?
I don't. So the membrane will come with the warranty itself. Talking with the guys that we could talk to, I think it's 10 to 20 years. Yeah, so have that warranty there. It hasn't gone up. We went with a thicker membrane as well, so that should be a good sign that we're making a long-term decision. But yeah, as far as the membrane, we won't know that until, because they source their own membrane. So once we get all this moving, they'll come back with their book and say the membrane has a life expectancy of 20 years, 25 years, whatever it may be. But so it might change. It was going to change from contract to contract.
The membrane supply would meet our minimum standards.
Yes.
I have no further questions.
Did you say, Nick, that we only got $24,000 from the insurance?
Yes.
Is there?
Mayor, Council, I think they're looking at it from, we haven't maintained and upgraded the roof over the years, so I think that impacted their decision, but yeah, it's, and I want to say that it might actually be pretty generous to get that, because I'm not sure there was evidence of hail damage and that type of thing, which is what we're getting insurance claims for right now.
I think it's a pretty good bid that was done.
Yeah, right.
It's unfortunately gravel up there, so it
Yeah.
does take a beating, but
Not
wherever it gives in really bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad that way.
I have no further questions. Call for the vote to accept the bid for the power plant roof project number 01-2024 in the amount of $137,243. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Call.
Thurman?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Trahell?
Yes.
Bono?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Griego?
Yes. Item 8C, consideration of agreement with the Trinidad Construction Group for the Space to Create Commons Cafe remodel. who is presenting.
And Mayor Council, I'm happy to talk on this one. So we issued a bid for the remodel of the kitchen area, and this is in anticipation of the restaurant space coming to fruition. So the scope of the work includes tearing down the wall in the center retail space to open that up as the front for the restaurant space, and then some upgrades to the kitchen. We're learning a lot through this process. So apparently commercial kitchen hoods are very expensive. So the bids came in a little bit more than we had anticipated. A gas line was never actually ran to the kitchen as well. So for the commercial stove, that's something that we'll have to contemplate on this. We didn't actually get any responses to our bid. So under our procurement laws, we're allowed to negotiate a price, and we feel like we're getting a fair price with Trinidad Construction Group to come in and do the work, and they're committed to it. I think it'll pay dividends in terms of beautifying that space and providing another dining option for our residents as well. So we're really excited. We'll have more information to the public and to the council as to the actual restaurant space itself and what that will look like. But one of the things that I wanted to mention is we do have the budget for the project as it stands now. However, we've been approached directly by the Gates Foundation, and they've told us they would like to support the project as well. So we're putting in a request for them to have some of this work reimbursed. So they will provide any gap funding, hopefully. If it all works out, that will enable us to meet our other goals with some of the money we've had budgeted for Space to Create, which includes furniture improvements and some other great things just to make it such a spectacular space for our downtown and particularly our artists. So we're very confident in what we're proposing to you all today, and certainly available to answer any questions you all have.
Aaron, do you have any questions?
Based on looking at the schematic, it appears then that the city's decided we're going to go through the center section to create an access to the street.
That's correct. That's the space that made the most sense logistically.
And then the two other spaces to the right and left of that are going to be art spaces eventually again?
That's correct. Based on conversations we had with the council last fall, we will do a competitive solicitation for those spaces, and certainly involve you all in that decision-making process as to what retailers will go into those spaces.
All right, that's all.
Eli?
No. It's just, the kitchen, are we planning on leasing that out to someone? Or are we gonna keep it for events, or exactly how are we gonna?
Yeah, Mayor Council, so the contractor who will be running the restaurant space will have full rights to the kitchen. However, they intend to sublease it to food trucks and other venues that might want to come in and use that kitchen. However, it will be their kitchen for the restaurant in the area. The one really cool thing about the contractor who we'll be working with is they have offered to provide their services for setup and tear down for Space to Create, which means that if there's a private event happening there, city staff won't have to be spending extra hours setting up chairs and tables. The contractor themselves will actually charge a small fee to do that service for us. So that's a huge win to our staff over at Space to Create, and taking something off their shoulders that really shouldn't be on their shoulders. So I think it's a really big win for everyone. I've heard there'll be craft cocktails in it, so that's always a good thing, and I think the food options will be terrific. So we're really excited for this. They're also going to do catering for events and have a catering menu. But one of the things I think is really important to mention tonight is they're very gracious, and if a private event wants to come in, say for a wedding or a memorial service or a reunion, certainly they'll be allowed to bring in their own food. So there's no exclusivity to their offerings, and so I think we're striking a tremendous balance, and ultimately I think the community is going to win big on this project.
Do you have any questions?
I think you answered quite a few of them. I just had a question on when we were looking at the actual bid.
Yeah.
On here, it comes up for the hood.
Yeah.
So the
88,000.
88,000. So, but under there, the labor's included. Is that the labor for the job or the labor for the hood?
I believe that's the labor for the entire job.
Oh, okay.
Now, the hood itself actually came in quite a bit higher than what it's being offered to us, but the contractor, Trinidad Construction Group, is kind of balancing that with some of the other features of the project. So I believe the hood actually came in at a quote of $92,000, something like that.
Because that's an extremely large. I was looking at the area.
Yeah.
I wish I saw the square footage on it, because that is a huge cooking area.
Yeah.
That is massive.
So the margin of profit, I think, for the contractor is not as high as typical, so we're, at the end of the day, I think we're really, the taxpayers here are winning out very, very well in this project.
Neiman.
I don't know if this question is for you or for Space to Create. You said the food trucks will be able to lease out the kitchen.
So certain food trucks are in negotiation with the contractors, so Little Donkeys, I think, is the big one. They're already using the space, and we want to continue that relationship. However, the good news is with the Eagles Hall, there's also some commercial kitchen options there that will provide for food truck space. And then as East Street School finishes their commercial kitchen, there'll be other options as well. So we want to make sure that our food trucks have the space that they need to create their product as well. So between the three of those things, I think we're going to be well served in our community.
Okay. I'm not sure if this is germane to the actual bid, but I'm curious. Is there any stipulations, at least from our part, towards the operator of hours of business or availability? I'm hoping that we see something that's vibrant and available to the community, not closed at the whim of whatever.
I'm actually really glad you asked that. So no, we don't want to put any stipulations and dictate what the private business will do. However, their goal is to be open as much as possible, and particularly on Mondays and Tuesdays when we see a lot of our other restaurants closed.
I mean, you at least have a sense that their intention is to be open and available on a regular schedule.
Yeah, they've asked to be open till 10 p.m. and on most days, and we expect to see a regular schedule, regular offerings, and I can guarantee you, in talking with the contractor, they want to maximize the hours that they're able to offer at the restaurant. And they recognize the void in food services that we have here in Trinidad, so they're trying to fill that gap a little bit in their offering.
Just a question, just a simple question. What's the timeline on this to get it done? Do you have, have a rough estimate?
Yeah, I don't know. Audra, do you remember the construction days?
Carl's
here. Well, yeah, if you'd like Carl to come back,
Yeah.
he probably can answer this question better than I can.
So we're prepared to begin right away as soon as we execute contracts. There are two long lead items in this. One is the storefront. That's the aluminum storefront and glass walls. That's roughly about a 6-week lead item. And right now we're hearing the hood is 4 to 5 weeks. So, in the grand scheme of things, relatively short term. It should take about 30 to up to 45 days to install everything and complete our work, but we'll be waiting for those two lead items.
So it's a possibility we could be operational by May?
I think that's the city's goal. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And we're gonna do everything we can to make that.
I had one further question, if I may.
Sure.
What assurances do we have that we're meeting all applicable codes? I mean, I'm sure everyone's done the best due diligence that we can, but the last thing that we want to get to is a final inspection, and for commercial kitchen, we found out that we needed, 3 fire extinguisher heads here instead of 2. I mean, how have we done that due diligence?
It's a good question. I mean, obviously, we'll follow all the permitting processes, not just ours, but the state, the plumbing, electrical, that type of thing. But I'll yield to Carl to answer.
We worked with Audra to kind of help design this space and make it functional, and we spent a tremendous amount of time working with Schum's Coda. They're the consultant group that the city hires to review all plans. Now, Schum's Coda and the city inspection department will review everything as it goes in.
And then, what about county health inspection? Are they part of that process in any capacity?
They come in, and the health department inspects it in conjunction with your contractor.
Yep.
So right as soon as we walk out the door, health department works with the subcontractor, with the contractor, the tenant, basically.
And in order to open the restaurant, they'll have to have that health certificate. Plus, they'll be applying for a liquor license that will cover the entirety of the building. So there'll be liquor offerings that will allow us to have liquor at events as well.
How much additional kitchen equipment are we going to need to purchase?
I would say the substantial things, I think it's a commercial range, the hood, and what maybe, I don't know. if
No,
you know
Audrey
that.
has a complete list that she provided of kitchen equipment that they were putting in there.
And that's extra to the bid though.
That's something that the city staff has already, I believe, already ordered, correct?
Yes.
And there are some other things like, for catering events, we need little things like plates, or big things like plates. And, silverware.
Yeah.
That type of thing. So we are wanting to get some dishes that really brand the facility as well and have an artistic theme to match the goals of the buildings.
So you're saying that the city's gonna provide furnishings?
We are. We actually have a budget out of lodging tax that
Nice.
was authorized last year to provide for some of that.
Okay.
We're looking at a substantial investment in new furniture altogether for the entire building as well. So we really just want to get the facility up to be a top-notch, first and foremost art space, but then also be able to have these events that are going to generate revenue. We're working on a fee schedule for renting the building out, particularly for conferences. So if you think about like the Colorado Municipal League, if they wanted to have their municipal attorneys conference here, so Les doesn't have to travel. There'd be a substantial rental fee in that. And we're in active conversations with the Creative District and Main Street as to the distribution of those funds. We'd like to see those monies go back into the arts community as much as possible, but then we also want to retain some of the revenue for future building improvements and have that maintenance budget for future needs for the facility. So we're really taking our time and doing our diligence to, in my opinion, create a world-class event center. All of us have been in stuffy hotel conference centers, and they're great. But how cool is it to be in a historic building and really show off how great Trinidad is to people? So.
Any other questions?
Did we pass a bill for tours for $100,000 for furniture for that?
The $100,000, thank you, Councilmember Shu, the $100,000 are going into audiovisual upgrades. So that way we can have those events and ensure that we have state-of-the-art technology there to make sure we can actually host those events and have the equipment that they need. And I'm glad you brought that up because one of the key goals of that investment also, everything that we're purchasing, speakers, lighting, stages, is portable as well and can be used at other facilities. So we can have opportunities to rent it out and make a little revenue, or if we do a concert in the park or something like that, we have that opportunity as well. So really, really good things happening and not just space to create. I think there's a lot of community benefit to a lot of our efforts.
Mr. Ruger, this doesn't pertain to the agreement with the Trinidad Construction Group, but over the past couple of months when we've contemplated doing this, there's been some questions from the community as to, there was nothing when this project started that said that we had to have nothing but art projects on that road, correct? Would you give some information so that would be clear?
We've reviewed all of our agreements and specifically the agreements say that it has to be maintained as an event space. So this ties right in with that. Obviously, the goal of the space was to have a cafe and a restaurant area, which is why we built the kitchen and the area there. So I feel strongly that we're aligning ourselves well with the original intents of the building. But I think it's important that art is to the fore on everything we do there. I envision that we would have a collection of local artwork when people do come for events and showcase our artists. Certainly the retail spaces, when we rent those out, those need to be rented to folks who are looking to start art-based businesses and that type of thing. So we will match up our original goals as we can, but I think this is definitely in the spirit of what we originally contemplated. We're the first in the country, obviously, to have a space like this, and so making it work for our community and meeting the original intent of the funding and the goals of the project are certainly something we want to balance and make sure we're mindful of.
I was on the Space to Create Oversight Board group of people who talked about what potentially it could be used for. There are a lot of ideas, but certainly that, especially the back area was designed, and the thought process was that it would be for events that could be art events, could be family events. I was really encouraged with the light show, how many families were out using that space, dancing, listening to music. I think ideally music is also art. And so I think it's gonna be a really
Food
nice.
is also art.
Yes.
And Mayor Council, I'm glad you brought that up. One of the things that I'd really like to see is our local music artists being able to use that space. So, for example, we have some electronic dance music, EDM enthusiasts in town. I think it would be very cool to have an event there. And certainly having the opportunity to provide food and refreshments really ties in with that. So I hope that our efforts bolster the creativity that come out of that space. And so thank you, Councilmember Ogletree, for pointing that out.
Okay, any other comments, questions?
We want Trent Acoustic there again.
Absolutely.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
You're ready.
I'm in a hurry for him there.
Okay, second.
Second.
Who seconded it? Okay. Call the vote, please.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Trahell,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
DeBono,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Griego.
Yes. Item 8D, consideration of the Sourcewell contract proposal submitted by Rocky Mountain Turf Solution for the proposed Central Park Turf Project number 07-2024.
Mayor Council, apparently it's the Steve Ruger show tonight. Asked to present this item as well. Mr. Just couldn't be here tonight. So I just wanted to, this is coming forward to you as a standalone project. This is part of our overall upgrades to Central Park. And we're going off of a Sourcewell contract. So what that means is we didn't do our own solicitation for this part of the work. We actually piggybacked off of a competitive solicitation at the state level. So it allows us to purchase based on pricing that's already been negotiated under a public competitive bid. That's why it's coming to you as a standalone project. It wasn't bid out as part of the original construction improvement to the grandstands and the terraces and everything else that we're adding. So we had $1.7 million in the project budget when we started. This came in a little bit higher, but not much than we had the project budget for. So I think it's around $73,000 in addition, which we have the money to cover in our capital line item. The additional amount for this project will come out of that. But this all ties in with the work that's already being done there, and this is just one component of the overall rehabilitation of that facility.
Questions, Aaron? To the left, Aaron. Or to the right, Aaron.
I have no questions.
Me?
No question.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
Since it's artificial turf, so it's gonna need maintenance. So are we entering into a contract with that for annually and biannually maintaining it, or are our guys gonna be able to get some training on how to do that?
Yeah, quite the opposite. You're right, there is maintenance involved, it's just different. So it's different than having to mow and maintain turf at a real turf, real grass at a high level. So that's kind of the intent in going to the turf on the infield, is to mitigate some of our maintenance costs. But yes, part of this will include a maintenance schedule and ensuring that we're being mindful of anything that we need to do to upgrade it and maintain that needed.
And how many other entities in town use that field?
So it's used by, I believe, the high school, the college, and then certainly the triggers, and then also it's a community resource as well that's open to the public.
Okay. So there's no cost sharing across or reach out for that?
No,
That won't be on us?
as far as I know, the city entirely funds, the maintenance and the upkeep of that facility, and then we offer it to our partners as a resource.
Awesome. Thank you.
Let me ask a question.
Sure.
Was the baseball team on the same page with this contract?
The baseball, so the Trinidad Triggers do have some concerns with the turf, particularly the mound. And so we're in ongoing conversations with them. We've asked them to look at other alternatives. So the balance is, if we did a dirt pitcher's mound, the dirt can fall into the turf, and then that causes more of a maintenance issue. But I particularly am all ears if there's an alternative that would mitigate maintenance concerns but still provide those resources that they need. So my understanding is that the pitcher's mound itself and this is more of a Bob question, but I'm going to go out on a limb and try to answer your question. The mound itself will be a separate segment that is replaceable if it gets torn up, so it won't require cutting into the turf. Otherwise, it's designed to be something that's easy to maintain.
Mr. Shute, do you have any questions? You're a baseball official.
No, I have none.
Mr. Devon?
If this is approved tonight, will it be ready in time for the season, for the trigger season?
Well, Carl's still here. Yeah, great job. It's fine. I would yield to the general contractor to answer the question on the project schedule.
So.
Will you come up here, please?
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry, just so we can record it. I'm sorry, Carl.
Carl Gabriel with the Development Group. We're not part of this component of the project. However, I did sit in with Bob and this contractor, and they said once the contract is awarded, it takes about 4 weeks for them to get the product, and they start installing right away. And we're probably a week or two away, 2 at the most, from doing anything that would affect them. So we're pulling out of the infield.
Okay. Are we on time?
We are on time and on budget right now.
Wonderful news. Thank you.
Thank you.
I did have a question.
No way.
for me.
Is everybody finished on their first? Yes, sir.
Thank you. I've been approached actually by several people with concerns about sponsorship of the scoreboard and advertising. And I don't know all of the details, but at some point in the past there was a group of people, and I believe it was the Trinidad High School and the college, and they approached multiple businesses. Pioneer was actually one of them, Pioneer Natural Resources, and certain businesses paid with the intention of turf being installed on the field, and it never came to fruition, but the money was used for something, and those sponsorships are there to this day. What is the, are those gonna be heritage and remain? What is the plan for that?
And Mayor Council, I don't know. That hasn't hit my desk yet, but I'm glad you brought that up, and that is something we will absolutely look into and follow up on.
If I remember correctly, it was the High School Alumni Association, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes, we did it.
So they bought,
Yeah.
they bought the scoreboard.
Christopher, yeah. They're
Yes.
the ones, it was supposed to be purchased just for the scoreboard.
Well,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, it
So
wasn't.
that
for
should
the turf.
remain.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
just for the scoreboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question, Mr. Ruger. Not on the turf field per se, but, you know, when we're looking at the amount of money that we're putting into Central Park, is there any way, you know, I've heard from all the teams that use that field, that some of them abuse and misuse the facility. Is there any way we can ask for a deposit every year? Especially with this turf, we don't know how it's going to hold up to the wear and tear. And I'm more forgiving for the junior college and the high school, but the Triggers are a professional team. I'm wondering if maybe they should put up some earnest money at the beginning of their season, and then we inspect the field after the season is over, and if there's any somewhat of a damage deposit when you rent out a facility. Pardon? I think it should be, because they use that field.
Yeah, Mayor Council, we can definitely look into that. I would say that we need to strike a balance, because there's normal wear and tear versus,
Absolutely,
you know,
but I
damage that's caused, but we'll kind of look into that suggestion.
Okay, all right. All righty, that's all I have. Okay, do I have a motion to consider the Sourcewell contract for the Central Park Turf Project? Second?
Second.
Call the vote, please.
Trahell,
Yes.
Shu,
Yes.
Thurman,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
DeBona,
Yes.
Riego.
Yes. Item 9, council reports. Ms. Ogletree, do you have anything?
I don't really have anything to report. I did want to mention that early news by the Sarah Butler Club it's all there's to like for Mr. Chimino, and it just made me think a lot about his calling Trinidad the City of Champions, and I think it is very easy for people to get down about Trinidad, and what I appreciated so much about him is that he had vision, he followed through on his vision, and he saw us as what we are, but also what we can be. And I just really appreciated that about him. And then the other, speaking of things that are negative, I've been hearing a lot about the trees on Main Street, just about everyone I talked to. And I told them that our new slogan was "Be New Trinidad," but that didn't seem to help. So I'm hoping maybe in staff, in your report, that you'll address that.
Dave and Linda, we attended the ARPA meeting, and there wasn't really anything that's reported that's important to us other than, they reelected their own officers on the board, and they are working on doing a rate change which will take effect in March of 25 when we change over to a new controller. And we're definitely working on a small solar farm for this area for Trinidad. That's part of ARPA. So other than that, that's it.
Manny, would you rather be called Manny?
Manny, please. Yeah, it feels like
Your dad.
like a book collector. It's the ones that have my full name. So I had my first, I got to attend via Zoom, the Main Street Board meeting, which was really, really nice. Unfortunately, due to some technical difficulties, I got like 60% of the meeting. So, but from what I can get, what I got from it was, the Hometown Holidays was there to present. They were sharing some ideas about the parade and stuff, and then I lost them. Mr. River gave a great speech that I lost most of it. And a wonderful presentation. I was kind of landlocked on a screen, so I didn't get to see the slides, which I think were they the same ones we saw before?
No.
Oh, man. So I missed out on that. So, but I got some of the audio, which was really, really great. I think it's going to be beautiful downtown. If we can execute these ideas that are going to go through, it just will be new, modern, beautiful, and green. It's so going to be very, very green. And also, I was very pleased to hear them wanting to reach out to other communities. They're going out and they're outsourcing, they're pulling in information, feedback from different Main Street boards around the state. So going through and bringing that back here, bridging those gaps is phenomenal. So I'm glad that they're taking that initiative to do that. They also promoted a new logo, which I was I liked that quite a bit. I really like that it gave a true representation of our diversity and inclusiveness of our community. And it's weird how a logo can do that. Just one small little piece of art can just scream multitudes. And I really thought that was really fun. So I'm really excited to be part of a creative and collaborative board like this. So I look forward to more and more being able to be with them and see what else we have to give. So, thank you.
Manny Fresh. No.
I have no update, but I would like to take this opportunity to echo Councilman Ogletree's comments about Mr. Chimino. I mean, if you close your eyes and think of the Trinidad without the contributions that Mr. Chimino has put in this town, it is a vastly, vastly different landscape. And his commitment, his belief in the town was, I think it was unsurpassed. So my hope is that we have spoken about a lot of great things and big achievements, and my hope is that each of us just really tries to take forward that pioneering and championing spirit for Trinidad, and just appreciate all the contributions he did do. That's what I have.
I'll be brief too. Mr. Ruger and I went to the assembly, speaking of champions, for Eddie Bowman. That was the most fun thing I have done since I've been on council. The gym at the high school was loaded with screaming elementary kids on one side and screaming junior and middle school and high school kids on the other. But you talk about a leader. That kid is phenomenal, and he deserved every accolade that was bestowed upon him that day. Also, I was the speaker at Mr. Chimino's celebration of life, and I believe I gave condolences on behalf of the city. I don't remember, but did I? Okay, I couldn't remember. But that I did do that. And speaking of, you know, you talk about Mr. Cimino, and he talked about champion. And I think if Trinidad needs anything right now, we need to adopt that champion attitude. Not that we're all winners, but we are going to champion each other. Instead of the negativity that everybody exudes, to express some kind of optimism that this town is beautiful that we live in, and we're going to do everything we can to make it bigger and better. Not bigger, better. But talking about Mr. Cimino, I'd like council to really think, I think Mr. Cimino deserves something special in remembrance of him from the city of Trinidad. I don't know how much we can afford to do it, or what we can do. This is just, I'm putting a bug in your ear to start thinking about something permanent that would give him the honor that he deserves for spending so much of himself into our community. So think about it. And that's it. Mr. Ruber, do you have anything to report?
Whoa, yes I do.
We may as well continue the show.
No,
I just see
continue
my
to see
turn to
Ruben.
the gentleman tomorrow.
No, I just have a couple of quick things. I'm glad you brought up trees. So I presented with Mr. Just to the Main Street Board last Friday about trees downtown, and then we'll be hitting up the Urban Tree Authority as well soon. So, but the message to the public is we're not doing anything with the trees anytime soon. We're just assessing the situation, open to ideas, perspectives, and then as part of our ongoing talks with SGM, who's doing our redesign of our Main Street, we're talking about bringing in some landscape architects to advise us as to best practices and what we can do to strike the balance that I think our community is looking for. It'll include community meetings, and then I also want SGM to have the opportunity to meet directly with some of our boards and have those conversations. So we're making sure to get the voice of the community in any decisions that happen with our trees downtown. So the spray paint that has been concerned on the trees is really just merely our preliminary assessment of trees that we feel like are beginning to cause damage to the infrastructure. That's as far as we've gotten, as I presented to you last time. So we can look forward to beautiful trees this summer and birds nesting, and we'll continue the conversation with our community and figure out a great balance that's going to work for everybody. Wanted to mention that I got called into a last minute deal on a RAISE grant, which is a really big deal for federal level. So RAISE grants they used to be called Tiger, now they're RAISE. They change acronyms every year, it seems. But this grant in particular is for $10 million that includes Trinidad, and Colorado Springs is actually going to be the applicant. We turned down the opportunity to be the applicant just because we do not have the staff capacity to administer another federal grant right now with everything else we have going on. So very happy that our friends in Colorado Springs are willing to take on this effort. We'll be the beneficiary. It should provide a robust planning for multimodal centers in Colorado Springs, Pueblo, and Trinidad. So should we be successful, this will be a really good thing for our community, and I'll talk more to the council about what I'll ask for you in terms of supporting it when the time comes, but I think this will be a great mechanism for us to get some funding to really put pedal to the metal on our thoughts for multimodal and where that might be and how we might go about that. And ultimately, the goal of this grant particularly is to potentially build a rail system that would bring people from Texas up through the I-25 corridor and have some exposure here. So really, really good thing for our community. Then I wanted to mention Mr. Chimino, and thank you. I think one of the biggest testaments that we can do for Mr. Chimino, based on my conversations with his colleagues and his family members, is to continue our efforts on the redevelopment of the Catholic school. And we have our grant in to rehabilitate Church Street, and part of that grant application includes about $1 million worth of work to the building itself to get that rolling. And from what I understand, Mr. Chimino, out of all the projects he had pending, that's the one he would really like to see come to fruition. And I think the best thing we can do in his honor, besides a permanent memorial, which I think is a great idea, is to continue his work on that project. In addition, we did have a meeting. Mayor Griego was involved with our friends from Holy Trinity and some of their staff about the possibility of acquiring the soccer field. Mr. Chimino owns, Camden owns the bleachers, and they're generously willing to donate basically those in support of our expansion of Chimino Park as part of our River Vision project. So that's another way that I think we can honor Jay's legacy here in town by making that project come to fruition and doing what we can. So really excited for that. And then last but certainly not least, I just wanted to highlight again the outstanding work that Neil Paul and everybody he was associated with did to have Holy Trinity be designated as a national landmark. I can't underappreciate how significant that is. There's only about 20 or so landmarks. Templar. Sorry, did I say Templar? Sorry, getting my churches confused. Templar. So there's only about 20 landmarks in the state and only about 2,500 nationally. So it's a significant thing. There'll be a ceremony on March 23rd that we're pitching in some city staff efforts to assist with in terms of traffic control, parking, and any logistical things that they need. And that is it. We'll stop with the Steve Ruger show and I'll move on to this.
And there's really no show. Madam Mayor and council members, I don't have a report. I did want to just mention the fact that in your packet of materials is a letter of resignation from the Historic Preservation Commission from Lauren Rogers. I think the record should reflect that as well. I'm just writing in Mr. Ruger's way tonight, so.
You have talked less this
I know.
meeting than I did.
I'm really, and I'm, yeah. You always said that about me. That's right.
Before we adjourn, our next meeting will be a work session on March 11th at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in council chambers. Next item on the agenda is adjournment. Anybody want to move to adjourn? So moved. Second?
Second.
Call the vote.
DeBono?
Yes.
Shu?
Yes.
Thurman?
Yes.
Treville?
Yes.
Ogletree?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yeah.
Griego?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you in the audience for coming tonight.